Hi everyone, my name is Ana Gonzalez. I am one of the Campus Not team members, and this is Practical Ways to Use AI in the Class. For those of you who were able to meet us last week, thanks for the time. For those of you who are new to the platform, welcome. This is a space for you to gain some quick tips and tricks that you can hopefully implement fairly easily in order to implement and adopt AI. If you have someone with your network who wants to implement AI and doesn't know where to start, please feel free to pass this information along. Most of the examples that we will give you today are related to the use of AI on Campus Not, but we have a couple of examples that you'd also implement outside of Campus Not. If you don't know what Campus Not is, we are an AI-powered teaching assistant software. Our goal is to give you actual learning outcomes in real time so that you can course correct before an exam, an assignment, or before professor evaluations come back. And so without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Now, many of us wear many hats. You are tasked with administrative responsibilities, teaching, coming up with content, grading, and so forth. And even though we are encouraged to create interactive, inclusive classes, that can sometimes be hard to achieve. It requires a lot of planning, and it also requires pedagogy to be able to build classes that can help you measure students' learning outcomes. And the good news is that you don't have to do that alone. We have implemented, and other softwares have implemented AI to help bridge that gap. So today we're going to talk about AI as a teaching assistant, AI as a personal instructional designer, as an insight engine, as a creative partner, and as a content redesigner. The first example that we are going to go into is this AI teaching assistant component. The class that you're seeing here is an example of a chemistry class, quite large, 2 sections that amount to 500 students, close to that. And AI is primarily used to stimulate critical thinking. With classes that are quite large, how do you make sure that students are where they need to be, are asking what they need to ask, and that some of those questions just don't become repetitive emails? And so what we have done is we have brought in an example of Katie and Sarah, 2 of our TAs at MSU. They are paving the way for innovative implementation of AI. So what they have done is that they schedule the same question every week. And this is an opportunity for your students to come in and tell you exactly what they need help with. So what you're going to see here is a brief AI summary of every single comment that students have made along the way. You also notice that some of these questions are anonymous, and that is to encourage students to ask without feeling the pressure of typing a question. And so that's just the first step into using or introducing AI into your class, being able to have that extra support. So if you don't have a Katie or a Sarah in your class, our AI actually gives you real-time insights, summaries, and top trending questions for you to check on the spot without having that extra support. We also want to talk about AI as a personal instructional designer. So maybe in the department, you may not have access to a design team that can help you create a course. What we have done is help you generate unlimited variations of practice problems using not just polling mechanisms, but also using Bloom's taxonomy. The good news is that many or most of the syllabi outcomes are built on these very cognitive domains. And so what we're doing is tackling 2 things. We're helping you build really engaging, pedagogically oriented questions, while also being able to help you measure those learning outcomes that are set from the start of the semester. We also want to talk about AI as an insight that here's an example of a human nutrition class at Texas A&M. Like Sarah and Katie, Professor Revere relied a lot on AI summaries. Those summaries would allow him to primarily um, detect some of the top trending, confusing points within the class. One of the biggest takeaways here was giving him the ability to prepare ahead of time. So based on the spring of 2025, he was able to create questions about the topics that students struggle with the most. So it's not just with Campus Knowledge, but if you're using any AI tool, you're going to be able to combine AI analysis with your polling and survey tools to figure out learning patterns and tackle those ahead of time. We do have an insights page that essentially will allow you to see those on the spot. We want to talk about AI as a creative partner. AI can work as your co-pilot, and this example is from a humanities class at George Washington University where Dr. Alexa Jubin is essentially using Campus Not feeds to encourage students to write on the spot. That's one. Based on those short writing assignments that students were responsible for doing in the class, she was able to recognize a specific tone or persona or way of writing from students' continuous practices in the class. However, one of the biggest advantages of using AI is helping students simulate personas, using AI to help role play perspectives, build scenarios based on discussions. You don't need Campus Not to do this. You could encourage students to prompt, maybe it is Gemini or Copilot, whatever it is that you're using, to help them see a world that otherwise they wouldn't be exposed to. We want to talk about AI as a content redesigner. So this is an example of a DE class, math heavy. We could also use AI as a content redesigner. So this is an example of a very math heavy DE class. And the goal of using AI here is to enhance and reimagine existing materials. So what we could do is take the questions that you already have, reframe those in a very quick type of environment where you could essentially create up to 20 different sets of questions in seconds and deploy those as you see fit. The idea here is to upload the content that you already have created and using it to fuel other ways of asking students questions. Now, one of the biggest questions, especially today, is how to reduce AI misuse. Obviously, AI has a lot of really positive impact in classes. We see a lot of students already on platforms using AI constantly. Many of the tools that we use on our day-to-day activities have AI fueling a lot of the workflows. And our goal is not to completely take AI away from a world that is very much AI friendly, right? What we want to do is reduce the misuse of it. And so what we have recommended throughout the last few months is to keep learning human, prioritize process-based learning, and set expectations really early on. A few weeks back, we were at a conference out of California, a few of us, and we co-presented with faculty at Purdue University some of their findings after testing Campus Not in 150 plus student size class. And of course, extra is one of those extrinsic values that students can immediately gain from using a tool like this. But beyond that, the other two options are to stay engaged with the class and to interact with classmates or the instructor. What this does and what this tells us is students are still very much looking to connect with one another, connect with you. And that is why AI can essentially facilitate that one-to-one interaction, even if you have a small class of 25. We see a lot of faculty use some of the tools that I've shown you through some of the examples as a warm-up activity, as a way of lowering the anxiety level from students, from giving everybody the opportunity to be on the same level, to answer the same question, and then fueling those conversations after the submissions have been made. We've also built what we call Spark rubric. If you'd like to explore this rubric to auto-grade questions on campus, not especially open-ended questions or submissions, let us know. We recommend you frame questions in a way that allows students to demonstrate clear understanding through concrete examples, data, or course references. Present personality. So be able to share individual viewpoints, lived experience, tone. We could even be okay with students framing AI or helping AI sort of build personas for them so that they can best share their perspective on someone else's point of view. We also have talked about being able to move beyond description, right? Be able to tie the why and the how for something, relate relevance. So how are you able to connect your lived experience, real world examples with course themes and current issues? And finally, being able to communicate clearly. This basically means using accurate terminology, setting a minimum number of words, and so forth. Now, the example that I have here is a professor at the University of Alberta who uses the auto-grading functionality to save some time. So you'll see the framework, the Spark rubric is added there, and it's something that can save a lot of time away. Another way to reduce the misuse of AI is to prioritize process-based learning. So this is an electromagnetisms 2 class, and instead of looking for a final product, and I think this can be applicable to a lot of the STEM courses, math, heavy courses, engineering courses, where you're looking for that final result. We could remove that final result, give students that final answer, but encourage them to understand, document, reflect, reason the flow or the process that leads them to that correct answer. And I think this will be a good example of how to do that. So instead of just asking, another big important aspect of decreasing the misuse of AI is by setting up expectations early. So we recommend laying out a very clear outline as to what your expectations, policies for the course are when it comes to AI. If you don't know what or how to frame those, a good resource is the Teaching Commons at Stanford University. They have a ton of resources to help you build a syllabi that essentially matches your goals and guidelines when students are using AI. And here are just some practical steps that you can follow. Obviously, we want to leave you with some positive aspects of using AI. And so in a world where we are completely bombarded with information about AI, I think there are a couple of really immediate benefits of introducing AI into your class. One is helping you reduce the mental load by helping you streamline the workload, the administrative burden that comes with the job. Second, help you lower burnout. So obviously, you already have your content ready. How about we redesign some of or reimagine some of what you have created? This can also help by helping you automate routine feedback and scheduling reminders to avoid fatigue. So we can help with a lot of that. Obviously, helping you gain balance, free up hours. If we can take away parts of the teaching experience that isn't necessarily that fulfilling to you, and you can spend those hours and that time to do other things, then fantastic. We want to make sure that we are helping you do that. And last is strengthening relationship with students. So one of the things that we've noticed across the board in over 450 courses is AI can really help highlight students at risk and those who are doing really well. And you're able to take control and help them as they go along. So do consider implementing AI. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us at support@campusnot.com. Again, my name is Anna. Feel free to leave any comments below the video if you have any particular questions or would like for us to go deeper into one of the points discussed. Thank you and have a fantastic day.